Hi again, everyone. I'm Mark Keller, and I know it's hard to believe, but we're welcoming you in to the final Inside Sports of the fall season. We are in the final days of the season, and time has just flown by. Plus, we've had our share of challenges in this go-round with weather and time changes and such. It's been an interesting season, to say the least, and we're going to do our best to wrap everything up for you here in this episode with the help of a slew of Herald Mail insiders. Bob Parcelletti is here to talk football as both Boonesboro and South Hagerstown made the postseason, but bowed out in heartbreaking fashion. Dan Kaufman and Braden Leather are here to talk volleyball as two Washington County teams advanced to this week's state tournament, but probably not the two you expected. Andy Mason is in to talk about the state cross-country meet and more state glory for Boonesboro. And finally, Kevin Dunleavy is here to talk soccer and tell us how Smithsburg defied the odds to reach the girls' 1A state final. That's a full plate of sports, and we'll dig in with Bob right after the break.
When you elevate nurses, you reduce an entire town's blood pressure. Specialized medical training means top nurses, top care. Meritus. Healthcare transformed. How do you give a patient healthier healthcare? Give her doctor, nurse, PA, and therapist the same health record. Introducing electronic health records. One patient, one record, one click. Meritus. Healthcare transformed.
When it comes to hearing loss, who will be taking care of you? Audiologist Dr. Karen Hamilton is Hagerstown's hearing doctor, working to improve the quality of life for those with hearing loss. At Audiology Services, Dr. Hamilton focuses on evaluation and diagnosis to provide solutions for treating hearing loss. Using the latest technology, she programs hearing aids to meet your unique needs and ensures they fit properly and comfortably. Audiology Services participates with most insurance companies and will check benefits and file claims on your behalf. Dr. Hamilton and her team also serve the community through Hagerstown Hearing, which focuses on providing crystal clear sound in places such as theaters, churches, offices, and homes. Hagerstown Hearing installs looping systems that allows those with hearing loss to enjoy speech clarity and noise reduction, providing an experience like never before. To learn more about Audiology Services and Hagerstown Hearing, call 301-790-3300. Audiology Services and Hagerstown Hearing, providing crystal clear sound.
Welcome back into Inside Sports. We're going to wrap up the high school season here in Washington County for 2018 and have Bob Parcelletti with us here to talk some high school football. Bob, a couple of Washington County teams into the postseason this year. We thought at the beginning of the year, one, maybe two, maybe Boonesboro, maybe South, but they both get in. Both get rematches with teams they met and lost to early in the regular season, but the result the same in the playoff matchups as well.
Yeah, they were a little bit tighter this time. Well, it couldn't get tighter, much tighter than the South game was the first time. But they were all games, both games where the two local teams had it in their hands and things just didn't break their way.
Well, let's start with the 1A West. Boonesboro, they were a 34-28 loser to Catoctin in the 1A West semifinal. That's after they dropped a 26-14 decision to the Cougars in the regular season. And you pointed out, Bob, one of the key decisions in the game really came with the coin flip.
Well, that was one thing that Coach Clayton Anders said. He said, I couldn't understand why anybody never took the ball. They would always kick to us because we usually score first. And it starts out with an almost 8-minute drive, and they get they score 8 points, and the field was really, really sloppy. So expected it to be a really tight game, where one or two little breaks were going to make the difference. 8-6 at the end of the first quarter, and it was 16-6 at the half. And 22-20 at the end of three quarters. And in like a 3-minute span, less than 3-minute span, there were like 3 touchdowns, bang, 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 bang. And all of a sudden it was a track meet.
Yeah, you mentioned a close game throughout, and then you really got kind of crazy in the fourth quarter. And one thing about this season, I think, probably every team was a little accustomed to the playing in the mud and the muck. We had so much rain this fall, and how much did that really kind of affect the teams up there at Catoctin?
I think it affected them a lot. Both teams, they both had to really adjust things, I think, to the field. The Boonesboro games where they've played in the mud, it's been sloppy, but it seemed kind of solid. And this field, I don't know if it was because it was cold or if it had just finished raining or what, but it was very slippery. There was a couple of plays were bigger plays because guys slipped while they were trying to make the play. You know, there was a couple of runs that looked like they were going to go far, and they didn't go anywhere because the guy slipped and it was right there. So I think the field had a lot of, and I think that's why it took the fourth quarter for things to really happen.
And these are two teams that not known for throwing the ball, but both threw the ball pretty well. Christian Michael with 3 touchdown passes for Catoctin. Josh DeRocher with 2 for Boonesboro. Was that a little bit of surprise to see the ball thrown so much?
Well, Boonesboro didn't throw any more than they usually do. It was just they picked the right spots. Catoctin, over the last couple of years, has thrown a lot because of Michael. He's a senior now, but he's been a guy that a dimension they hadn't had in years past. So they used him a lot. The guy that everybody's going to have to be looking out for, though, from Catoctin for the next 2 years is Carson Sickery, who's only a sophomore, and he scored 2 touchdowns in this game.
Right. Let's go over to 3A West now, and South and Westminster, another rematch taking place here in the 3A West semifinals. Westminster rallied to win in week 2 against the Rebels 19-18, this time beating the Rebels 24-21. A tough night for South as it hosted its first home playoff game. They just couldn't quite seem to go to get a break to go their way, kind of like you mentioned with Boonesboro.
And that's what it seemed like. It seemed like everything they tried went against them. Everything they were used to doing didn't work as well. As far as Westminster went, they were kind of wondering what it was going to be like, because Westminster had lost 2 out of the last 3 before coming into the playoffs, or winning the last week. And what the change was is their quarterback, his name was Christian Etchinson, came back, and it changed the dimensions. And when he came back, the running back, his last name is Lewis, I can't think of his first name right now, became more prevalent again. He's kind of a power back, kind of one of those guys you used to always see at Middletown, you know. Mm-hmm. And he seemed to play, they seemed to play very well together. They seemed to offset things, so it made South have to play very honest.
This game kind of started like the Boonesboro game. Westminster running out to an early lead, 9-0 lead early on, but then South did play catch up just before halftime, just after halftime, ended up taking a 14-9 lead thanks to their big guys on offense in Timmy Townsend and Jace Wassanen.
Well, that's it. They're the guys, you know, and I mean, everything that happens to them revolves around what they do. Jace does a great job of going in the middle and getting the tough yards and then breaking it out for something big or getting to the outside. He's tough to corral. He's not the tallest guy in the world. He's not the biggest guy in the world as stout-wise, but he's pretty shifty. And Timmy Townsend has rounded himself into a very fine quarterback. He throws a nice ball. He runs very well. He's gained a patience about him that he didn't have earlier in his career, and it's all paid off.
So despite the disappointment of the playoff loss, an 8-3 season for South Hagerstown and first-year head coach Dave Lawrence. He's the first coach in Washington County history to take a team to the playoffs in his first year, and kind of showed he's sort of carrying over from what Toby Peer helped to build there at South.
Well, he had one of the greatest things that happened to him is nobody left on his coaching staff. So it was just the same bunch of guys working together. So they all knew what they were going to do and what they were, what they wanted to try to do, and it worked well. The kids really took to them because they were comfortable with the coaching staff. They really liked David Lawrence as the coach. He was very personable to them. He had a good message to them, and they played together. And, that was it.
Real quick, one thing Coach Clayton Anders always talks about is showing well in the playoffs. And, yes, you always want to win, but more than anything else, you want to acquit yourself well. You think Boonesboro and South did that in these playoffs?
I think South had to. I mean, just the idea of getting the first home game is a big thing for them. I mean, you don't want to hang your hat on that, but that's a big step in the program. Second thing, I asked Clayton after the game about being out in the first round. He says, we've been here 4 in a row. We can't get past it. He goes, but there's a lot of teams that wish they would be in our spot. So, they're going to be back. They're going to try to get back and try to make it better next time.
Absolutely. Well, congratulations to both teams on great seasons. Thanks for joining us, Bob. We'll have Dan Kaufman and Braden Leather to talk some high school volleyball right after this.
We've been coming to Rick's for about 3 or 4 years. The staff at Rick's is wonderful.
It is the cheers of Hagerstown.
Everybody knows your name.
They've actually become a lot of our friends.
Treat you like family. They know you by name.
It's nice to be able to go somewhere as quality as this that's not a chain restaurant.
The food is unique. They get creative. It's fresh food.
and they make great drinks.
The word is in. Local, casual, and always epic. That's Rick's Cafe.
At Hagerstown Community College, we know that finding the right career isn't always easy, but when you find your passion, you can make things happen. Engineers solve problems. Educators shape the future. Healthcare providers save lives. Cyber experts prevent loss. Writers tell the story. What will you do? HCC offers more than 100 programs of study so you can find the path that's right for you. Live your story at HCC.
Welcome back into Inside Sports, wrapping up the fall season here in Washington County. Joined for this segment by Herald Mail's Dan Kaufman, Braden Leather. We're going to be talking some high school volleyball here. And Dan, if you'd said at the beginning of the season that we'd have 2 teams from Washington County playing in the state volleyball semifinals, most people probably wouldn't bat an eye. But if you said those teams would be Williamsport and Clear Spring, that might have raised some eyebrows.
Yeah, a month ago I would not have won that bet. But, last year on this show we kept saying repeatedly, I know nothing. So this is another postseason where I get to say I know nothing. Remarkable runs by both Williamsport and Clear Spring. Obviously Clear Spring knocking off Smithsburg in the sectional final and route to its first region title in 24 years. Williamsport peaking at the right time, getting past Damascus and Winters Mill and what you would call a pair of upsets on the road. Both teams playing remarkably well heading into state semifinals.
And don't take this the wrong way. Clear Spring earned its way to this point. We're not taking anything away from them. But when you're facing the 4-time defending state champions, unbeaten this season, barely lost a set all season, the odds are against you.
Absolutely, and that just shows the improvement that Clear Spring made, because Clear Spring, as you know, Braden, was handled easily by Smithsburg in the first match that they played. But Clear Spring got healthy. They were missing some players early in the season, and they showed up ready to play. And the Smithsburg atmosphere, they did it in Smithsburg's gym. They just kept cool heads, and they'd played a lot of 5-set matches too, which might have played. They were used to that 4 or 5 set, going deep in games. So maybe that helped them too, to some degree.
Now, Braden covered the game for the Herald Mail, and you had to have gone into that match maybe not expecting what you saw there, and they did do it in dramatic fashion, coming back from down 2-1. What was the atmosphere like there? Kind of describe the emotion that you saw on both sides.
Well, I mean, honestly, I sent out a tweet before the game. I was like, man, it seems like the entire town of Clear Spring made the trip out, and everybody from Smithsburg was there. I mean, they had good reasoning to. They both fought really hard to get there, and it was a great atmosphere. And then once that final point went down, it was just crazy. Everybody on the floor, I mean, you just felt it in your chest as you're walking around looking to try to find that player to talk to. And I mean, everybody was crying either tears of joy or tears of heartbreak.
I'm sure there was shock on both sides. Smithsburg trying to do something, that hadn't been done, and to have that kind of taken away, Dan, it has to be a shock.
Like you said, and some of the players, unfortunately, feel like they've let down the history, which isn't the case. They played their hearts out too, and I know Coach Brashear was on Facebook saying the most complimentary things about our seniors. And look, losing is a part of sports; it happens. You didn't let anybody down. Smithsburg's tradition lives on. But for Clear Spring, and they had a huge win earlier in the year over Oakdale, which was the defending 2A state champion. I think that gave them some confidence in the knowledge that they could do something like this. It's huge for their program. They're still a developing program, still a lot of young kids there. And to see that they can do this, they can play at this level and be with the Smithsburgs and the Williamsports of the world. Huge for them.
Oh yeah, and they had to win another match just to get into the state. This was kind of the climax for sure, but they had to win another match, and they did so, beating Northern Garrett. So Dan, what do you think of their chances at winning the state title?
They get Perryville, and this is their 8th straight year showing up at the state semifinals. They kept smacking into Smithsburg so many of those years, and I'm sure Perryville is thinking, hey, this is our year. We're used to the stage. We don't have Smithsburg here. This is our year. For Clear Spring, I think it's going to be interesting how they handle the moment and they handle the stage. I think they can play with Perryville, absolutely. I mean, Clear Spring's proven to themselves, I think they can play with anybody. How will they handle the stage, and how will they handle the moment? And, we're not going to know until they take the floor Thursday night.
Well, Braden, you saw them on the stage against Smithsburg. What do you think of their chances?
Well, I mean, honestly, Smithsburg they were playing Smithsburg caliber volleyball. It was just a couple little things like a serve error every now and then, or a hit that just lands out of bounds, or something that they can't really control. But I mean, Clear Spring they were on it. They had Kylie McHenrick and Olivia Kirby just absolutely leading them, just like I saw when I watched them sweep St. James, who is also a really good team. And they did that with 6 players, so they didn't have any subs, so everybody had to get going in that game. But, I mean, if Clear Spring really gets going, and I think the 2 players that, like I said, that really leads them is McHenrick and Kirby. If they have really big games against Perryville, I think they honestly have a pretty good shot at them.
Dan, we don't want to shortchange Williamsport here either. They're in the semifinals Tuesday. So that'll have happened by the time this airs. A shot at a record 15th state title. What do you think of their chances?
And they get to go through Rising Sun again, who they beat in 5 epic sets in just 2 years ago. That's going to be another classic. Rising Sun's a pretty young team. This is not the same Rising Sun team that was on this stage 2 years ago. Williamsport, again, peaking at the right time, getting contributions up and down that lineup. It starts with their serve receive. We saw that blow up against Smithsburg in the regular season. They're playing better now. If they serve receive well, they pass well, we know they have weapons. I think it's going to be another really titanic struggle with Rising Sun, and if they get past Rising Sun, we'll see. But they've got to feel like they have as good a shot as anybody down there.
Okay, Dan Kaufman, Braden Leather, thanks a bunch. Stay with us. Andy Mason will be back with some cross country after this.
Frostburg's program at USMH was definitely closer to home, allowed me to stay at home while I had the opportunity to substitute in Washington County Public Schools. The scholarships at USMH really allowed me to walk out, being able to pay it off much more quickly and being able to pursue my graduate degree at a quicker rate. I would say to anyone considering USMH, allows you to build better relationships in the community and something that's definitely a great opportunity to pursue and leads to a better career.
We've been coming to Rick's for about 3 or 4 years. The staff at Rick's is wonderful.
It is the Cheers of Hagerstown.
Everybody knows your name.
They've actually become a lot of our friends.
Treat you like family. They know you by name.
It's nice to be able to go somewhere as quality as this that's not a chain restaurant.
The food is unique. They get creative. It's fresh food.
And they make great drinks.
The word is in. Local, casual, and always epic. That's Rick's Cafe.
Welcome back into Inside Sports as we continue to wrap up the 2018 fall season of high school sports here in Washington County. Joined now by Herald Mail sports editor Andy Mason. And Andy, we talk about cross country and the state cross country meet. As usual, we're going to be talking about Boonesboro here. Another great day for Boonesboro down in Hereford last weekend.
Yeah, I mean, it couldn't have gone any better. They won both the boys and girls team titles. You know, Boonesboro always seems to rise to the occasion on the one day they focus on all year. And for the girls, it was their 4th straight state title, 10th overall in 1A. And the boys got their 3rd overall state title, 1st in 3 years. And they just dominated. Going in, it looked like we sort of knew it was going to be 2 team battles for the titles. And the girls, it was Brunswick and Boonesboro, just like it was last year. And this year, Brunswick won the West Region title a week before States by 1 point. They also won the region title last year. Boonesboro came back and edged them at States. It looked like, it was going to be another real close one, but as it turned out, it wasn't all that. It was close, but Boonesboro won by 15 points. A little more breathing room than last year, and yeah, they came home with their 4th straight state title.
You mentioned the focus and putting everything kind of on this one day, and your story about the meet. You quoted Coach Sean Cutsale, and he said his team was kind of possessed in that focus. Is that something that you saw out there?
Oh, yeah, and you just sort of knew it was going to happen because you see it every year. Like I said, it's like it's like Boonesboro flips a switch on the bus ride down, whatever state meet they're going to, track, cross country. Yeah, they just always seem to rise to the occasion. Almost all their runners seem to have season best performances at the state meet, and that's hard to do. That's really hard to do. And for the girls, the big surprise, maybe the biggest surprise in the whole county was Samantha Agostini, a sophomore. She had been Boonesboro's number 2 or 3 runner on the team all year, and real good runner, but their number 2 or 3 runner, and she gets second. She was number 1 at States, 2nd overall, finishes 11 seconds behind the champion, just had the race of her life, and that's sort of what you come to expect from Boonesboro. They're going to have kids who just, exceed all expectations on race day.
What do you kind of attribute that focus to? That kind of laser.
It happened. Yeah. Well, they see how it's happened before. They believe that it can happen. It's not like, oh, maybe we'll win states. It's like, we're going to win states. And they have so many kids on those teams. They have the biggest program in the county. When you have that many kids at the end of each year, you're going to have a strong top 7, a strong top 5 of scores.
Let's talk about some of those other performances. You mentioned Agostini. Who else kind of came to the fore for?
Well, on the boys' side, where we didn't say Bohemia Manor was the 2-time defending state champion, and they returned the majority of their team from last year. And Boonesboro beat them. And Henry Schmidt, can't say enough about this kid. This kid knows how to make himself suffer, hurt, and he goes for it. I mean, he's a joy to watch race, and he went for it Saturday like he always does. And he had, halfway through the race, he took the lead. About a half mile to go, he's got a 50-yard lead on Zach Laird, the defending state champ from Bohemia Manor, and it looked like he was going to win. But through no fault of Henry's, the defending state champ just found another gear at the end, passed him right at the end, and it was disappointing to see. But still, Henry ran a great race, got second place, led the boys to the team title. And amazingly, and I don't know if I've ever seen this in all the years I've covered cross country, all 7 of Boonesboro's runners got state medals for placing in the top 25.
That is amazing.
And that's just incredible depth.
And you mentioned Schmidt, and we talked a lot about him before the season started and so forth. And kind of a disappointment. Did you kind of sense that? But does the team title sort of help?
That makes it all. Yeah, that makes it all better. But still, he wanted to win. I mean, he put it all out there, and I don't think he could have gotten. He can feel it's disappointing, but I don't know what else he could have done. He ran almost the perfect race he could have run. He just, the kid he lost to a guy who won his 2nd straight state title.
So we talked about the team performances. We had a couple other individual performances in Washington County as well. Some other kids medaled and did well.
Yeah, well, at Smithsburg, which the boys finished 3rd, they got 3 medals led by Garrett Kirchival, who got 4th. And, Garrett Kirchival getting 4th at state meet's great. However, he came in. He actually beat Henry Schmidt to win the Washington County title. And then he came back and beat him again to win the West Region title. His 2 big victories of the season. So, he went in hoping he could win the state title. Got 4th, maybe a little disappointing, but still he had a great season. North Hagerstown had 2 medals. Nate McKenzie in 3A got 8th. He was 4th last year, disappointed to get 8th. Still a strong run, but it's not what he wanted. He's hoping to bounce back in track. Phoebe Meehan, sophomore, county champion, best female runner in the county this year. She was 14th last year, 19th this year. Field was a little more competitive. She fell in the beginning. She ran the whole race with her shoe untied. That's not what you want. She still, was able to finish 19th, got a medal. And a great story, Class 2A boys. Zane Iggy Chalker, the junior from Williamsport, really competitive 2A boys field, one of the most competitive races of the day. He really won a state medal, top 25. He's like 50th at the mile. By 2 miles, he's like 30th. Huge, strong kick, finish, and he gets 25th, the last medal. So, he was the only kid running for Williamsport that day, and he came home with the state medal, which was great to see.
All right. Andy, thanks a lot. Congratulations to all those athletes on great performances down at the state meet. Stay with us. We'll have Kevin Dunleavy coming up next with some high school soccer.
For the last 2 years of my education, I was going to work full-time, school full-time, and raising 2 young children by myself. I think that anybody who's desiring to continue their education or to advance their career, I think that USMH provides convenient location, affordable pricing, and again, they have instructors that really care about sending their students off with the experience and the education that they need to succeed.
If you add it up, 12 spots a year for 25 years, close to 300 different commercials I've used Antietam Cable Production for. In terms of the experience with the production department, the truth is, we've become friends because we've done it so often. The staff is very, very professional. They make it easy for me to do the spot. That's the biggest thing. And we have a lot of fun doing it. And it works. It brings people to the dealership. And that's all I can ask.
Welcome back into Inside Sports as we continue to wrap up the fall season here in Washington County. Joined now by Kevin Dunleavy from the Herald Mail. We're going to talk soccer. Kevin, we're down to 1 soccer team remaining in Washington County, Smithsburg girls in the 1A state final. And We were talking about dramatics in volleyball a little bit earlier. It really doesn't get much more dramatic in the way that Smithsburg got to that 1A semifinal and beating Patterson Mill.
Yeah, they were on the low end of possession in that game. Throughout the game, they had to play, pretty much of a defensive game, but they made some nice counterattacks and somehow pulled it out 2-1. They gave up 2 promising shots to the other team in the last few minutes, and then in the last minute they got the winning goal. It just sort of came out of nowhere, and they're fortunate, and they've advanced to the state final.
On the headline on the story in the Herald Mail was "Holy Mackerel." Tell us about the goal and where the headline came from.
The goal came on a counterattack. Kara Poole came down the right side, their best player, and she went deep in the corner and crossed it. And Taylor Mackerel, one Smithsburg player, tried to kick it and missed it, and Taylor Mackerel was there, knocked it right in from in front of the goal. 31 seconds left, and it was one of those that you were waiting for the other team really to score, because they were sort of had the best of it possession-wise, but Kara Poole can do some special things, and Taylor Mackerel has proved to be really clutch for him as a sophomore this year. So, good for them. They were at the right place at the right moment.
An amazing finish to the game, an amazing run for the Leopards, really. Patterson Mill hadn't allowed a goal when they kind of stormed through the 1A East region. They won 4 matches, 31-0. But the Leopards found a way not only to break through once, but to get that game winner as well. And they're kind of facing a similar situation here in the state final as well.
Yeah, Sparrows Point is a team that's won 5 straight state titles. Nobody's ever done that. They're undefeated this year, which they haven't come into the state final undefeated, I don't think, since they've had their run. So this may be their strongest team that they've got. They've got a girl named Julie Lynch she's going to West Virginia, already committed. She committed way back in her freshman year, so she's been a known quantity forever. She's got 15 goals, 12 assists this year, and she's one of 3 big scorers that they've got. So there's a wealth of talent that they've got. They've got three other players that started as freshmen that are now juniors. So this may be the strongest team that they've faced. Smithsburg has been to the state final for 3 times in that 5-year span, and has lost to Sparrows Point each time. Given them a good game every time, but they've had a hard time against them because they're just really elite. They may be the best team in the state.
So it sounds like a very tall order. So kind of what sorts of things do the Leopards need to do? Does it come down to fundamentals? Does it come down to execution in this game?
Yeah, I think it has to come down to doing what they did against Patterson Mill. They're probably going to have to play a defensive posture because the other team's probably going to get more possession, and Kara Poole may be the difference maker if she can get some of those counterattacks, and because she just does special things. She's the answer to Julie Lynch on the other team, and that's probably the only way they can win. They've got a really good defense. Their goalie, Riley McKinnon, has been outstanding this year. She's got 3 shutouts in the playoffs, and she's had to make some saves to get those shutouts. So it's a tall task, but Smithsburg has a chance in this game.
Let's switch over to boys real quick as well and talk about the Clear Spring boys. They fell to Mountain Ridge in the 1A West final. We talked about Clear Spring in the preseason. We talked about maybe sort of a transitional year for them because they had lost so much to graduation, but turns out not much of a transition. They had a pretty doggone good year.
Yeah, they did amazing things this year to win 10 games with a team that had 1 starter back. When you think of that, they don't play a really challenging schedule because they don't play in the CMC, but they made the most of this season. And the team that they lost to in the region final, Mountain Ridge, was really good. They had beaten Mountain Ridge earlier this year on the grass at their home field. Clear Spring did. But when they faced them on turf, it was a little bit tougher game. Mountain Ridge plays all their home games on turf. So I think that might have been a little bit of an advantage for them. But Clear Spring probably got as far as they were going to go this year. Still a great season.
Yeah. All right, Kevin, thanks a bunch. Appreciate it. That does it for Inside Sports for 2018. Be sure to follow Inside Sports and Herald Mail Sports on Facebook for updates on state volleyball and soccer the rest of this week. Plus, you won't want to miss the Herald Mail's all-county teams when they're announced. That usually happens in early to mid-December. We will rev things up here again for the winter season after the first of the year. For now, for all of us here at Inside Sports, Antietam Broadband, and the Herald Mail, I'm Mark Keller wishing you a happy Thanksgiving, a wonderful holiday season, and a happy new year. Thanks for watching. We'll see you on the inside in January.